I have been doing bits and pieces to make a journal. And I have started with this template here. I have some coffee stained paper and I placed a pretty little rose there. And what I've also done is then I photocopied that so that the paper comes out without that raised section where I put the rose here, the paper rose, the image there. And that's what I did. I photocopied everything with the rose included into the paper like that. And then I've double-sided it with some more vintage paper on the inside. So there's the template for that. It was the coffee stain, just photocopy paper. I put an image on there, a cutout of a rose, and then I photocopied all of them so that they look integral to the paper. And that's all I've done. But I am going to use this one as well because it's very pretty. So there we go. So I have folded them in halves like that, and all of them are folded. Maybe I'll put one under there so you have a blank, a rose, a coffee paper, and then some vintage paper in the middle with another one. And I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pages there. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 in total. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put them in one little journal with one of the, now I can't think of the name now. Now I've gone all blank again. So all we're doing is folding over our vintage paper and we're going to put it with the others. I'll just do that. I have glued them all together, let them dry overnight. And I'm just folding them now, just so we can get them into it. There we go, one signature. I was trying to think of that word. A signature. So it's going to have just the one signature. And I'm going to put them into one folder. And then we're going to decorate it. So that's what I'm going to do. Now all this is photocopy paper. It's not expensive paper. And it's all going to be in one signature. But if it gets too bulky, I may change my mind and put 2 signatures in there because they're so bulky. So let's open that up. And there we go. There's our one signature. Now it does feel a little bit bulky, but I think it'll be all right. So there's the start of our book. So I've photocopied coffee stained paper. I put an image on there. I then photocopied the paper so the image is flat with the rest of it, so it's not an image, you know, a paper image like the one there, one in the middle, wherever it is. And they've got vintage paper on the inside of these pieces of coffee stained paper. That one's a bit smaller, but that's okay. I don't mind that at all. Having a vintage piece of paper like that, that looks okay to me. So that's what I'm going to do. Now I may trim them up a little bit so they're all even Steven, but there's the start of our book. Now I have got a template here for an envelope, a very small little envelope, a sweet envelope, and all I'm going to do is get some of our paper, which is here, our vintage paper, and I'm going to do some envelopes with this pretty paper. So I'm just going to draw around it like that. Pencil. Here we go. So just draw around it. Here we go, up the side. Now this template I got free. I think it's from the Graphics Fairy. So you've got to be a paid member to get all the graphics and the images, and I'm a paid member, so that's where I got it from. But you can get any off the internet for free and use it. And I'm just going to cut it. See how we go. Get the rounded corners. Make sure you do them properly. It's a very sweet baby, like a baby envelope. It's a very sweet envelope template. We'll cut it. Right on the line. I've got to curve that one off like that. Now you can keep these if you want. They can be added to anything. I want some little scissors. Here we go. Here's some little scissors to cut out those little divots. You know, those ones on there. Those little ones there. Okay. Oops. There we go. 1. 2. 3. That's about it. Nope, one more. Couldn't see it because of the light. There we go. Okay. So there's our envelope. Now all we're going to do is, I'll be back shortly. There's someone at the door. Sorry about that. Someone was at the door. Now, this is the bottom. This flat piece here is the bottom of our envelope. So we're going to bring the sides in. These two sides in. These two sides. This is the bottoms coming up. So where we have those little divots in the envelope, that's where you're going to put your crease line. Get yourself a one of these, whatever they call them. Oh my gosh, I'm lost for words today, but I'll do my best. A bone folder or folder, whatever they call them. Okay, so we've got the two sides in like that. Now we're going to bring this flat bottom up to that. And that's very simple and easy to do. It's a very small envelope, a very sweet envelope. So I didn't notice I still had pencil lines on there. I'll just rub them off. Don't need them on our beautiful vintage paper. There we go. So that's what it looks like. Now all you need to do is to put a tiny bit of glue there or tape and just put that together, and that is exactly what we're going to do. I'll just get rid of this paper. I didn't come up high enough, so I'm just readjusting that line. Now I will put a little bit of wet glue there. It's a bit of sip glue, tack glue. This is a really good glue. And all I'm going to do is put them on that line. Just a tiny little, tiny. And I'm going to fold that like that. So that's down, that glue, and there we go. It's all down like that. Now all we're going to do now is fold over the top. The top's pretty simple, pretty easy. Just like that. Just going to get rid of that line again. I didn't know I had it there. And there we go. There's our envelope. And doesn't that look really pretty? I think so. It's vintage paper, so you can see there's all different colours, and there we go. So that's what we're going to make a few of them for our book journal. There we go. Vintage journal. So we're going to have some of these beautiful envelopes in our vintage journal, particularly on some of the pages that are a bit darker, not so much yellowy. They will look really nice. So we've got our journal, we've got our envelopes. We're going to make a few of them, and I will show you a few things that I have been making for this journal, and I'll bring it over. Just move that out of the way. So we've got our envelopes. Here's another envelope. This is a pretty one. It's just made out of the cash receipt or cash paid page. And I've stuck a pretty little image of a rose on it and some lace. So that's another one. Here's another one, a sweet little blue one, a baby blue one. That's one. Any more envelopes? No. I've made a bookmark here, a vintage bookmark. Put an image on some old paper, give it a bit of a stamp. It's got some gold ribbon on it. So that's that. I've got some old coffee stain paper with some writing on it, some text. They're just little bits of text. I've got one here with butterflies on it. I've got some pockets here that I made out of some coffee stain paper. Make it look a little bit vintage with some sewing around the edges. I've got another pocket here. I've done some sewing edges around it. And it has three pockets there. It's got a little vintage rose on it and some lace, some pink lace. Don't know whether you can see that. I have made a, oops, dropped that one. We'll have to let that go for the moment. I've made these notes here with some paper, some cardstock, and some lace on it, some vintage lace. They open up. You can write and journal in that, or write anything you want in that, notes. I have another one I made here with some lace like that. I've made some little notebooks, some vintage notebooks like that. Here's another one. Another little vintage. You can put some paper in there, which I will do. There's another one. Here's a card, a beautiful little postcard. I've got some vintage paper here. It's coffee stained and some text on it. I don't know what I'll do with that, but I'll do something. There's another beautiful little envelope with a little thank you card inside and some vintage lace on it and a beautiful rose. I have another one here that I can open. So there we go. So until I see you next time, bye for now. See you soon.